My name is Chris Stevenson. As you can see, I'm obviously not Loretta Renford. She won't be here today. I'm sitting in for her. She's out tending business. But my guest today will be someone who is pretty much well known politically in the Buffalo community. His name is Mr. Ed Wolkenstein. Ed, welcome to Speak Out.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad to be here.
It's glad to have you. One thing I'm kind of, just get an introduction as to you and why you're here. What does your work involve?
Well, I'm an activist in the Buffalo area. I work with the Concerned Citizens Against Police Abuse, but I'm also the contact person for the Buffalo Committee to Free Mumia Abu-Jamal. That's essentially my main concern politically in the Buffalo area at this time. We have the Buffalo Committee to Free Mumia Abu-Jamal is made up of individuals and representatives of groups. We act as a coalition, a very loosely organized group, get together when the need arises, right, to do things to push for the freedom of Mumia Abu-Jamal. We feel Mumia Abu-Jamal is innocent of any crimes, any crime, any wrongdoing, as a matter of fact, in this respect, that it's necessary to do whatever is possible to free him, because in our view, Mumia represents a symbol not only for black people, but for people at large in the United States, for freedom of speech, for freedom of movement, for the right to speak out on issues that are not popular, for against discrimination, for people who are in dire straits and have nobody else to speak for them. Mumia is an articulate, personable champion of the everyday person.
Right. Now, what I'm wondering is, tell the audience how you've come to know of this case regarding Mumia.
Okay, well, I've come to know about it through two ways. One, from what I read about in the papers, but more intimately, my daughter is the co-counsel with Leonard Weinglass for Mumia Abu-Jamal. There are about 6 attorneys that do work on the Mumia case, right, but the most of the court work so far and a lot of the other work has been done by Leonard Weinglass in the first place, and my daughter doing a great deal of work also.
Right. Well, see, the thing about it also, just probing a little bit deeper here, I'm wondering how a white male like yourself can campaign for Mumia Abu-Jamal. In other words, doesn't this put you at odds with certain other people in your community?
Well, it puts me at odds probably with a lot of people, okay, because many people don't understand the nature of the case itself, and they don't understand that it's necessary to be an activist to defend and protect and extend our rights. If we don't do that, then there are people in this country who are willing to circumscribe what we say, what we do, where we go, how we live, you name it. Right. Unfortunately, that is the case. So.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people out there who never heard of Mumia Abu-Jamal. Okay, I didn't hear about him until '95, somewhere around the spring of '95. Then I started writing some articles about him. Okay, what interests me about him is the fact that he has been under government surveillance since he was, what, 14 years old?
14, 15 years old.
Some of his associations, he was a former member of the Philadelphia chapter of the Black Panther Party.
He was one of the co-founders.
And he was, of course, he became associated with the group, the controversial group Move, somewhere during the 80s.
But this was later on.
Yeah, later on, of course. See, so, this whole thing, but people today, from what I read in the mainstream press, when I hear about maybe talk radio people, mostly conservative talk radio people making reference to him, it is just under the banner of cop killer. Just view this guy as a cop killer. Are we to view him just simply from that standpoint, or is it much more to that?
I don't view him from that standpoint at all. I mean, the fact that he's called a cop killer is really the nux of the case in terms of his legal case, and which is based upon a whole series of lies, distortions, mistruths, frame-up, and particularly by the Philadelphia police and by the prosecutor's office and the judge who was involved. The situation in Philadelphia has, over the last, ever since Mayor Rizzo's tenure as mayor in the late 70s, there's been one where there's been a vendetta against the black community of Philadelphia. And Mumia, who became a writer, he was the president of the Philadelphia Black Writers Association, as well as a public broadcaster on public radio and national black radio. He had constantly exposed the kinds of situations, the prejudicial and discriminatory situations that were developed and honed to abuse and circumscribe the black community and black individuals. And he wrote, and as a reporter, well, first, let's go back to when he was 14, 15, when he became one of the founders of the Black Panthers. In many people's minds, the Black Panthers was only a very narrow, radical, revolutionary group, which is far from the truth. The Black Panthers were involved in breakfast programs, school programs, educational programs. Sure. They did many things for the people of the community to ensure or help them become better educated, more knowledgeable of what exists, and how to handle their situation, how to get ahead, how to live in a society that is very antagonistic.
Yeah. See, now you mentioned before how Mumia is a symbol. All right. Now I come to view him this way also, but Mumia, from what I've read, he doesn't want to really be called a symbol. He's kind of like a symbol by default. He doesn't have much control over it.
Right.
But to me, he's a symbol because here it is. He's on the watch. People have constantly watched him. And of course, they're continuing to watch him. It's not like they just locked him up and threw away the key, and they're not paying attention to him anymore. Even though he's within an 8 by 10 cell.
Right, something like that.
Yeah. Now, what can you do with an 8 by 10 cell? But they're continuing to watch him to a certain extent. This is kind of, it doesn't just kind of reflect on how basically black people are, especially black males in particular, how we're being watched today.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. That's what it is. The prison population has increased to the fact that there are over 5 million people in this country who are currently related to the judicial system and the criminal system in one extent or another. Either they're in prison, they're on probation, or there's some relationship in between. And the majority of those people are black. If they're not black, they're generally Hispanic. And the smaller proportion of them is white. And it is like they're establishing a new form of concentration camp by putting this considerable number of people in prison, and particularly blacks. And in many instances, they are sent to jail for rather insignificant crimes, and non-violent crimes as well. So you have a situation where, well, of the black youth, 1 out of 3 is related to the criminal justice system in that respect, everything from being in jail to being on parole.
Right.
So you have a generation, a good section of a whole generation being brought up under or living under the cloud and threat of jail.
Right.
For, as I said, in some cases, the most insignificant in Michigan, somebody with crack cocaine, an insignificant amount, could get sent to jail for life.
Right.
So it's an outrageous situation that this is the way people.
They just had a decision about that last week, I think it was. Right. They don't want to get rid of that. Okay, they're trying to keep that continue. They want to keep that on going.
It's my belief that they don't want to, that the leaders, the powers that be in the United States, unfortunately, don't want to deal with the social issues as they should be dealt. In other words, to resolve the social issues, which includes jobs, medical care, extensive health care program. We're the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't have a national health care plan.
Sure.
It doesn't want to deal with the issue of jobs in any responsible, sensible way, or welfare. This workfare they already admit that they can't find jobs for people. They don't want to deal with the fact that the children are abused, that all the basic social issues are not being dealt with. The only way that many of these people see these issues, and I'm talking about in the powers that be, is put people in jail. Jails and the jail industry is the largest growth industry in the United States right now.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about building more jails and more incarcerating many more people, which is a horrendous situation. We in the United States is the largest incarcerator of individuals in the world. There used to be some competition with South Africa in particular. That's no longer the case.
No longer the case.
The United States is outstanding in how many people it puts in jail every week, every month, and every year, and the rate is growing. And that includes not only youngsters, it includes women.
Yeah.
The rate for women has gone up incredibly in the last 10 years.
But see, all this jail doesn't seem to be solving the crime wave. In other words, we also have just about the highest percentage of criminal activity in the world also. So all these jails, that's not solving the problem.
Jails doesn't solve the long-range problems. It doesn't solve them immediately, other than by putting. They are making it possible for a certain section of the population to live off the jail population. Now, if you put a jail in a rural area, that provides that community with jobs and all kinds of associated tradesmen and manufacturers and related industries to feed and house, and the housing is there, but to feed the people and provide the facility, to provide the services that are necessary to take care of those people.
Oh yeah, that jail feeds that. What they call a pork barrel.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very true.
And at the same time, it takes people off the street that they don't want on the street, but it doesn't minimize the problem whatsoever.